guys, Samantha from Jessama Tutorials here, and welcome to, let's see, what day is it? Day 22 of the Cracklathon. Gosh, it's going by quite quickly. And we're going to be using the crackle that patina, excuse me, let me wrap up my words and try it again. We are going to be using the Swellegant veneer that we made yesterday to create this beautiful crackle. So if you haven't seen that tutorial already, please do go back and have a look because you'll see how to make this veneer. And today we are going to be using some Kroma Crackle. So you will take this, and if you make this, you don't have to wait a full day to use it. You can use it at any point in time you want, but this one has waited roughly about 13 hours, I'd say. Now we're going to take our Kroma Crackle, and I'm going to add a bit. Here's the Kroma Crackle. And if you're wondering where to buy this, I actually got this from, I do believe it is called Happy Things. It's a European shop. Okay, then just take that Kroma Crackle and spread that over the surface. You can assist it by drying it with a heat gun on the slow setting or a hairdryer, or you can just let it naturally dry. Naturally drying though, it will take about a day or two to even start crackling, and then 3 full days to get to the point where you can say that it is done. So just keep that in mind. Now the thinner the layer, the faster it cures. So and also the thinner the cracks. So I don't want a hugely thick layer, so I'm just scraping off some bits. Yeah, because that will speed up the amount of time it takes for it to cure. And I already have one that I made yesterday that is just about ready to show, so that you don't have to wait. So basically you're just going to put that into an area and leave it for about 12 hours. Or you can grab a heat gun or a hairdryer and put it on a slow setting and do this. Then you'll leave it for 3 minutes and repeat over and over again for about an hour, and you will find that it basically crackles on its own. However, you are going to get a completely different crackle by doing that than if you crackled it on its own. So if you would like an example of that, look at day 17 of the Cracklathon. I used Kroma Crackle on Swellegant then, and you'll be able to see the sort of crackle that you're going to get. So I'm just going to pop that to the side, and that can cure. And this is the one that has been drying for, I'd say roughly 2 hours now, with a little bit of assistance with the heat gun. Not as much as I would usually, but just a bit of assistance. And it's to a point now where it's dry to the touch, but it has not completely cured, because once it's completely cured, you'll find that it goes white like it has in the middle here. However, at this point, I tend to like grabbing a piece of plain printing paper and burnishing. As you can see, we get some lift up around here and here. So to help stick that back down, I like to very aggressively burnish it. Like so. And I'm just using plain printing paper, though you have to make sure that this is dry to the touch before you do this. Okay, and you can see that it's basically laid down quite a bit of it, but it's not completely all laid down. That's fine, because we're going to do we're going to seal it in a little while with some of the Swellegant sealer. But for the moment now, you want to just use a heat gun or a hairdryer to cure it so that it is completely white. Now, you don't have to wait until it is completely white. If you find that the flecks are really starting to fleck up, like they are for me, you can use the sealer now. However, it will look different than if you had just waited for the thing to dry completely. But you don't have to wait if you don't want to. So now I'm just going to be using some Swellegant matte sealant. Okay, and I've just got a bit on my brush here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dab. I'm not going to brush. Don't think that's going to be received very happily by those flecks that are starting to flake up. And now you'll find when you wet this, there is going to darken, I guess is the right word. You're going to find that the white does tend to go away. Don't worry about that, especially after baking. You will find that it reverts right back to being kind of a greenish white almost. And sorry about the road noise, it's a bit noisy today. But there we are, just dab it all over. It's important that you do that because otherwise it won't be sealed properly and you will get flaking and all sorts of stuff. So I always seal before I bake or even start to manipulate it. The thing is, because you're not running this to the pasta machine, you could just apply it straight to the bead shape that you have if you wanted to do that. You don't necessarily have to cut it out. Okay, and I'm just brushing over it, and if I see any areas that are still white, I know that I have not brushed over that area adequately. Okay, so that's what it should look like after you have finished sealing it. Now you can use a heat gun, a hairdryer, or you can just let it air dry. So I've air dried it a bit more. You can see it's still going to get flakes. That's fairly normal. After baking, I would seal it again. But before that, I will just give it a quick burnish, just to get those flakes. But they will be a lot more stable now. Although they're going to be flaking, if I rub my hand over there, they will come off if you apply a lot of pressure, but they shouldn't come off that much. Okay, now I do want to show you what that looks like baked, so I'm just going to trim it. And you can see it doesn't trim very happily, so I would advise, you know, I'm going to wait until the road noise goes. There we go, hopefully it's a little bit more quiet now. You can see that you do have a bit of pull on the edges, so I would recommend baking, putting this onto a shape that you don't need to manipulate or anything like that, because you can see it doesn't cut very happily. So I am now going to bake this for a full hour at pretty much recommended temperature, and you'll see what it looks like when we're done. Okay, and here is what it looks like baked, and you can see it is quite different. And again, you're still going to be getting these flakes, so it is a little bit of a tricky crackle. But it creates a beautiful organic, almost like weathered paint effect, which is really nice. So now I'm going to take that Swellegant sealant again, and you'll find that again it will change colour. Each time you wet it, it will change colour. And this time I want you to be fairly heavy-handed with that Swellegant sealant, because we really don't want any of those flakes coming up. And I think this would just be beautiful on so many different projects. Okay, I'm just making sure that I've got a really good layer of that Swellegant sealer to make sure that we don't get any more flakes. Okay, and it doesn't make it go back completely to the normal colour, but it will change it again. Okay, then I'll wait for that to dry and I'll show you the finished result. And there we are. And now you can, after the Swellegant has basically dried to the touch, you can put it into the oven for about 15 minutes just to get it to revert back to its normal colour quicker. So I'm just going to lift that up. It's still quite hot. So I'm just going to show you like this. You can see how beautiful and weathered that looks. It's a really complex coloured crackle. And so it is quite a bit more tricky than the other crackles that I have shown, but at the same time it's a lot more complex in the effect. So if you want to take the challenge, it is definitely a beautiful, worthwhile crackle to create. I can just see how beautiful this would look like in an ornamental bowl. It's not a crackle that I would recommend putting on pieces that are going to get a lot of wear and tear. So things like bangles and rings and collars are probably not going to work so well. It would probably work okay on a pendant so long as it was just on the front. Things like jars and bowls that are ornamental and not going to be used for food or going to get regularly touched, that would work as well. But with the sealer it should be pretty strong, but I just wouldn't recommend putting it on something like a bangle just because it flakes a lot and it doesn't really like to be manipulated all that much, so you need to choose what you're going to put this sort of a crackle on a little bit more carefully than some of the other crackles that I have shown. So let me know what you thought of that project in the comments below. I certainly enjoyed creating that crackle. Depending on what Swellegant you use on the bottom, it's going to look completely different. If you want to start incorporating the Swellegant dyes, that also creates a really interesting effect and can add a bit more colour to the piece. But in general it's going to have that kind of whitish tint because the Kroma Crackle cures white. And the fresher the veneer that you put the Kroma Crackle on, the deeper the colour will be. So if you leave it for a day or two and then put the Kroma Crackle on, you're going to find it looks a lot more white than if you put it on, say, about an hour after you had created your Swellegant veneer. So just keep that in mind. And so I do hope that you enjoyed that. Please let me know in the comments below what you thought. And if you would like to vote for this crackle as your favourite, please do consider joining my group Jessama Tutorials Polymer Clay Community on Facebook. There will be a link to that group in the description below the video, and there we will have a poll at the end of the month so that we can choose our favourite crackle so that I can do a project on it. So let me know what you think and do consider joining that group. And as always, I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.